the population will force the Iranian regime to declare war on the United States and Israel. So things seem to have quieted down in the Middle East. But as I said, all sides, United States, Iran, and Israel, have committed to war. And the ceasefire is really a way to attempt to control the narrative. The Iranians have responded to the American bombing. The Iranians notified the Americans that they would send missiles against U.S. bases, empty U.S. bases in Qatar. That seemed to be the full extent of the Iranian retaliation. And Donald Trump was very pleased with this very tepid response. Why was the Iranian response so tepid and so muted? If you're fully committed to war, why would you launch such a tepid response to U.S. aggression? Well, the main reason is you want to infuriate your population. Okay, so let me explain what I mean. Livy, the Roman historian, he wrote the entire history of the Roman Republic, and he wrote about one incident where a Roman legion went off to the frontier, and the natives confronted them, and they were outnumbered, so the Roman legion built fortifications. And every day, the natives would come and taunt the Roman soldiers. And at this point, the Roman soldiers really wanted to go out and fight the natives, but their commanders refused. The commanders ordered them to show restraint and to maintain defense. And as a result, the natives thought that the Romans were cowards. And so the taunting became worse and worse. And it became so bad that the Roman soldiers were about to mutiny. And at this point, the commanders agreed for the Roman legion to attack the natives. And the Roman legion were so angry and so infuriated and so insulted that they slaughtered the natives. So that's what's happening in Iran today. The Iranian people are clearly insulted and humiliated by this U.S. bombing. And the Iranian government is holding them back, which even makes them more angry. And as U.S. aggression, as Israeli aggression increases, the Iranian response will become more and more tepid, more and more mute, and thus angering the population to the extent that the population will force the Iranian regime to declare war on the United States and Israel. So that's the game plan moving forward. Over the next month, things will be a bit quiet. There's still going to be a lot of incidents. So the Chinese media is reporting the Iranian intelligence agency has uncovered an Israeli false flag operation in the United States. So over the next couple of weeks, we will still see some news regarding the Middle East, but I expect things to stay quiet for now. So I will use this opportunity to provide you some important background as to what's going on in the Middle East. So last video, I mentioned there are certain elements within the American empire that want America to lose a war against Iran in the Middle East, and they want Israel to become the empire of the Middle East. And these people, these elements are called Christian Zionists. And so I want to today explain to you what Christian Zionism is and how it fits into this war in the Middle East. So the technical term for Christian Zionism is premillennial dispensationalists. Okay, so it's a very hard term, but I'm going to explain what it means. And by the way, I'll explain a lot of new terms in this video. So premillennial dispensationalism is the understanding that when Jesus returns, he will initiate 1,000 years of peace in the world, called the Messianic Age. Okay, that's why we have the term premillennial, because when Jesus returns, we will have 1,000 years of peace. Dispensationalist is the understanding that the world history is divided into certain stages. In each stage, the relationship between God and humans change. We are now approaching the final stage, which is the full reconciliation with God through the second coming of Jesus. But for this second coming to happen, certain elements need to be in place. Okay? The first major element is that Israel needs to be reconstituted as a nation, which has already happened in 1948. Then all the Jews from around the world have to return to Israel. And then they have to destroy the Dome of the Rock, which is the third holiest site in the Islamic tradition, and build the third temple. Then there has to be a war of Gog and Magog when Israel is besieged by a fierce enemy. And then this will lead to Armageddon, which is the final battle. And at the very last minute, when all hope is lost, when Israel is about to be defeated, Jesus will return, and he will initiate the Messianic Age. He will save Israel, and he will initiate the Messianic Age. If you're a Christian, upon Jesus' return, you will be immediately sent to heaven. This is called the rapture. So that's the idea of Christian Zionism. And Christian Zionism, as explained before, is one of the main drivers of this war in the Middle East. And if Christian Zionists have their way, then certain things will happen. Okay, the most important thing that must happen is the United States send ground troops against Iran, because as I mentioned, if the United States were to send ground troops into Iran, the American empire would fall, and which will give birth to the empire of Israel. This is important because in the Christian Zionist framework, America is not involved in this prophecy. So you need to take America out of this equation somehow. Okay, so that's the first thing that must happen. Second thing that must happen is the Dome of the Rock must be destroyed. If the Dome of the Rock were destroyed, the Jews could rebuild the third temple. But more importantly, it would unify the Islamic world against Israel, thus initiating the war of Gog and Magog. Another thing that must happen is the Jews must return to Israel. And right now, most Jews are living very nice lives in the Western world. So why would they want to return to Israel? Well, the answer is America has been defeated in Iran, and Americans are pissed about this loss. And so who do they blame? Who do they persecute? Who will be the scapegoats? And so you have this global surge of anti-Semitism. And so now you have major Jewish intellectuals coming out and say, listen, we should all return to Israel because that's where we'll most be safe. If I'm correct in believing that Christian Zionism is a very powerful force in the world, then these three things will happen over the next few years. A U.S. ground invasion of Iran, the Dome of the Rock will be destroyed somehow, I don't know how. And the third thing is a movement to return Jews to Israel. So why is Christian Zionism so strong?